Hello friend, Chris here from the All-Inclusive Life Show, teaching you how to cultivate energy, restore balance, and keep the weight off. Today's lesson is on the food formula framework. I gotta say that really slow because it's a bit of a tongue twister. So what are we building here today? We're building your diet. That's right, your diet. You're gonna build your diet. Have you ever done this before? You said, enough's enough. I gotta clean house here. I gotta clean up my diet. I gotta start eating super good and super clean starting Monday, which by the way is tomorrow in real time. So if you've done that, what did you do next? Did you say, okay, I need a plan? And that's a logical thing to do because, starting without a plan is planning to fail, essentially. So you're on the right path, but typically what people do afterwards is they go to other sources for that plan. They'll go to Google and they'll Google meal plan, for example, or some sort of fad diet, or they'll go to a dietitian, or they'll go to a trainer, and all of these things are great. All of those resources will serve you, but you need to participate in this as well. You need to actually get in there and start planning your lifestyle, the fundamental part of your lifestyle, where we get most of our energy, our physical and mental energy from all this stuff on the counter here, your food, your diet. It's vital. I remember when I started planning my framework for my diet and organizing my food, and it was for bodybuilding. And that's where I really learned this framework that I'm gonna teach you here today. And ultimately, we're gonna build a meal plan for you here today. And I want to get right into it. So let's start breaking this down. It's a three-step process. First of all, we need to find the food. We need to find the food that's going to work for you. So, based on your personal preferences and your likes and your dislikes have to be taken into account because, hey, this framework that we're building, this meal plan, it's got to be built to last. It's got to be able to stand the test of time because I don't want you to get on another 7-day, 30-day, or even a 3-month meal plan. When I was doing this for bodybuilding, that's the intent that I had in mind. I had, 13 or 16-week contest prep, and then I was back on another diet. But what I'm doing now for myself, and what I want you to do for yourself, is actually build something here that, of course, we're gonna renovate constantly, but build something that's going to stand that test of time, and that more or less, when I speak to you in a year from now, you're gonna say, you know what, Chris, that original meal plan that I started with, it looks quite different now, but the backbone or the frame is still the same. And it's still the same because it works. It works for you. So step one, let's find this food that's gonna work for you. The easiest way to do it is to break it into what we call the 4 food groups. All right, so let's start off with food group number 1. And that is going to be our veg and our fruit, our vegetables and our fruit. Now, we need this as a foundation, okay? So if we were to build a food pyramid, for example, this is on the bottom level, and this is the firm ground that we can stand on. Because without this stuff here, we're going to be missing all of the essential micronutrients. We'll talk about the macronutrients later, but it's the micronutrients that we're going to get from our fruit and from our vegetables. Yes, potatoes, a vegetable. I know it's a carb too. That's all right. We'll talk about carbs later. Those are the macros that I was speaking about. But this is that strong foundation that you need to build to get all those micronutrients like the vitamins and the minerals and the phytochemicals and the fiber. So important. It's something that has been a real big focus for me. As I'm getting older, I'm understanding just, we can actually use food for health. I don't need to use it just for building muscles anymore. My bodybuilding days, I'm retired now, so it's really all about health. And I'm getting all my fiber, which to me is the most important part of food when it comes to eating healthy. Because our fiber controls our blood sugar, it controls our digestive system, it makes us regular so we can eliminate waste. Like I can write you another book on fiber and its benefits. So again, we got to build that strong base with fruits and vegetables. So that's the first food group. Moving on here, we're going to get into meats and meat alternatives. So we'll just put a big plus there, okay? And I'll explain myself. So all of your meats and all of your alternatives, on a macro type of description, this is going to be all of your proteins. But I think it's a little bit easier to call it meat and alternatives. It's going to be a cue for you when you're out there shopping and looking for food. You're looking for meat and alternatives. And yes, it's primarily protein that we're after when we're trying to get enough of the foods from the meat and alternatives group. And also things like eggs, chicken breast, for example. These are sort of the obvious things, and some more things from the sea, which I'm really focused on trying to get at least 2 to 3 servings of fish, shrimp, shellfish, also your regular fish. These are the things that we consider our meats and alternatives, and red meat and pork is in there too, and it's actually a very large food group. And there's free resources. If you're just tuning in right now, I want you to click the link there, because you can actually get a full description of all of these food groups that I'm talking about here, where basically they're described and also given examples. So this would be a really good resource for you. If you want to click on that link, you can get this whole package actually. Building your framework and food and getting a meal plan out of it just by clicking on that link. So let's move on here. We've talked about the meat and alternatives. The third group over here is the milk or dairy and alternatives. But getting right into the dairy, things like cheese, for example, or one of my favorite snacks here, Greek yogurt. By the way, it tastes amazing with Truvia, which is a natural sweetener from the stevia plant, and a little bit of natural vanilla extract. Mwah, amazing. And also, if you are taking supplements right now, it's something that I do still take because I'm supplementing to my already great diet, but there's sort of those times where it's just not perfect. Life has happened and I'm in a rush, and maybe I haven't prepared my meals, and this is when I'm going to need a supplement to add to an already great diet, just to make sure that I don't fall off that day and maybe miss a meal and all of those things that are bound to happen because life happens. You know how it is. So that would be another dairy alternative. And of course, all the milk products in general go into that bucket or that basket. Now let's move on here to the next food group. And that is going to be our fats and oils. Okay? And our fats and oils are going to be things like olive oil. They're going to be things like our dressings, our butters. All of these are in limited quantities part of our diet. You've probably heard of healthy fats as something that you want to include in your diet. Omega-6s and especially the omega-3s, and those are mainly coming from fish. And we need a balance of all of those, and always trying to get the lowest amount of saturated fat, and always trying to avoid the trans fats that are coming from the hydrogenated type of oils that have been modified. But there is room for fats and oils, okay, in this framework here, in this formula, and I do want you to keep adding them because they make food taste great. They give it texture and taste, actually. So knowing that we're building this to last, and I want you to keep enjoying it, because the minute that you don't enjoy it is the minute that you're not going to do it anymore. We're human beings and we're wired for pleasure. We truly are. And of course, we have to mitigate that, because we always can't be in a state of pleasure. That's going to get us into a lot of trouble, especially with food. So I want you to always consider that there has to be an inclusivity of it. My book, I wrote that about inclusivity, and it's called The All-Inclusive Diet. It's always about trying to moderate and mitigate all the different foods so that we have enough diversity so that we just don't get bored. Because when we get bored, we get ourselves into trouble, if you know what I mean. So moving on here, we've got another food group. Last but not least, the grains. Okay, so here's an interesting food group, because the grains are also our carbohydrates, which have been getting a really crappy rap lately. And they don't deserve it because they're definitely the best source of energy for us, for our brain, and also for our bodies. And they also contain a lot of fiber. What am I talking about? Well, some taboo foods these days anyways, one of which used to be my favorite food. This is pasta. Yes, it was. When my mother asked me what I wanted for my birthday dinner, when I used to have all my friends over, guess what it was? Spaghetti. That's all I wanted. So yeah, maybe I'm switching spaghetti for things like quinoa these days, but I still got a thing for pasta. And I always include it occasionally. It's not a banned food by any means. Some other grains would be your rices, brown rice, wild rice, all the different varieties. That was the basmati rice. I got a thing for that as well. Wow, it's tasty. And also things like legumes and oats. You know, oats is sort of my staple breakfast that I always have. And that's something that I will be showing you how to work that in when we get to the last step here, the framework. But this is basically all of the food groups. And what I want to do now is move on to the formula. So we know the foods, we know how to describe them, we know how to categorize them. So we really have all we need to go to the next step, which is distribution and allocation. And we're talking about the formula. So there is a basic formula that's been out there for a long time, which is what I use for myself and also for the clients that I coach in the weight loss and wellness program. And it works really, really well. And remember that this formula is a base, it's an idea, it's a starting point for you. And modification is always going to be necessary. You know, as we're building this meal plan, you're going to have to go in and do some renovations. You know, it's like building a house, it really is. We're going to build it with a strong foundation, and we're going to get the plans out. We're going to have a good formula. And afterwards, you know, after that framework is done, we might have to take a few boards off and put them in different places and build another room. And this is sort of the analogy I want you to think about, this long-term process of building and rebuilding this meal plan. I have to tell you that I've been doing this for a long time. It was 14 when I started getting interested in bodybuilding and weight training and sports, and I haven't stopped ever since. But you know, one thing that has not been static has been the way that I eat. I am still changing my diet. You know, what is this now? 25 or some odd years. I don't even want to know how many years it's been since I first started this, but you know, I've been in the business now for more than 25 years, and I'm telling you, if I'm looking back year to year, my diet is always changing. It's always improving. It's always evolving, and so does yours. So we just need to get you started here, and that's what we're going to do. But first, I need you to find out about servings and how many servings of those food groups you're going to need. Now, starting off with that first food group, the veg and fruit food group, I want you to know that for me, being a man between 19 and 50, what's recommended is 10 servings. Let me tell you how hard it is to get 10 servings. It's actually 8 to 10. Now, of course, I'm always shooting for 10, and it's not easy at all. It's really challenging to eat that much fruit and vegetables, because what I try to do is I at least split it down the middle, okay, 50-50, or I try to get even more vegetables, maybe a 60-40 or 70-30 type of ratio between vegetables and fruits. And the reason why I do that is I know that there's a lot less calories in vegetables, which is important to me because I am managing my calories to a certain point. And the second thing is, I also know that there typically is a lot more vitamins and minerals that I just can't get from fruit. So for me anyways, I see a lot more health benefit with vegetables, but I love fruit too, and they're very similar. That's why they're in the same bucket. They're in that same food group of vegetables and fruits. So by all means, you can figure that out for yourself. But what you're gonna have to really figure out is how to get, if you're a man, between 8 and 10. If you're a woman, it's between 7 and 8, which is no easy task neither. Moving on here. So we've got the second food group here, which is meats and alternatives, the plus sign there. So in this certain category, for myself, I'm just going to check my resources here. By the way, you can get these resources. If you're just tuning in right now, you can get them with the link that's included with this video, and it's a free download. So go ahead and get this resource. It'd be really helpful for you, especially if you can do it right now. Actually, you can listen in and actually do it with me, because we're going to frame it up very, very soon. The quota target for me, being a man between 19 and 50, for meat and alternatives is going to be two servings. Okay, so 2 servings over here of meat and alternatives. So that's going to be your shellfish, your fish, your red meat like beef and pork. It's going to be also the alternatives, eggs, for example, are going to be in that basket. And moving on here, let's go to the next category, and this is milk or dairy and alternatives. And I also need 2 servings. You'll find that with women, females typically are going to have less. Typically they have less calories, and they're going to definitely have less servings for a lot of these categories. And again, just download that free resource there, and you can figure out exactly how many servings that you will need if you're not a man, 19 to 50 like myself. The 4th category here is going to be our oils. Okay, and oils is anywhere from 2 to 3 tablespoons, right? So when we're talking about serving sizes, I want to be clear that going to the vegetables and fruits, so a typical fruit, an apple or an orange, these are going to be considered 1 serving, okay? Now your vegetables are a little bit different. 1 serving would be considered half, okay? If it's a leafy-based vegetable like romaine lettuce, or a spring mix, for example, to any type of lettuce variety, it's going to be 1 cup. Now, I don't want you to freak out if you're thinking I'm asking you to measure all of this stuff, okay? If you want to, that's great. Typically, all you need to do is measure it once and never measure it again, because then you've got an eyeball on it. You've got a frame of reference. You'll remember. But another neat way of doing this, I'll let you know right now as we're going through all these serving sizes, is just using your hand. So your hand is your best measurement tool. And what I mean by that is this is 1 cup, okay? It's 1 fist, all right? A half a cup obviously is half of a fist. A 1/4 cup is something that I can fit in my palm, right? When we're talking about ounces and we're talking about things like our meat and alternatives, chicken, for example, or fish, then we can use the palm of our hand. And this is going to be 2.5 ounces. It's about the size of a deck of cards, for example. For me, I typically take a little bit more fish or chicken or protein or this meat and alternative food group. So I might take 5 ounces or I might take 4 ounces. And that's basically the length of your full palm. All right. So the only thing that's left is your measurements like tablespoons, for example. And that's really easy as well because it's your thumb. It doesn't need to be complicated, and this is where people trip up. They have this expectation that they need to be perfect. I'm telling you, my friend, you're not perfect, and neither am I. You don't need to be perfect. This is not finite math. It's ballpark math. That's all it is. And you can do a ballpark just by using your hand as a measuring tool, and it will work if it's consistent. And that's what we're building here is this long-term consistent plan. So it will all work out. If it's a little bit more than your fist one day and maybe it's a little bit less than your fist the other day, it will all balance out in the future. No worries about that. So moving on here to the last food group. What do we got here? Grains. Okay, for me, grains, I need 8 servings of grains. So the grains, again, are going to be things like cereals. They're going to be things like popcorn and crackers. These are your pastas, your rice, your kamutes, your quinoas, your oats. These are all from the grain food group, and they are going to be necessary, again, to include in your diet for overall health, vitality, and energy. Yes, there are diets that exclude this group of grains. These are the carb-free diets. The carb-free diets that I've seen are not sustainable. People only stick on them for a very short amount of time where they get what appears to be an incredible amount of results, which they all see fade away quite quickly. Let's talk about the framework. This is the third and final step. We're here, we're gonna put it together without any further ado. Let's talk about meal number one. Let's talk about, what could be breakfast, for example. So knowing that I've got a formula that I can work with and I can modify as well, but let's just try to go with the flow here and see what happens. I'm gonna have a typical breakfast of, let's say, oats. I'm gonna have my steel cut oats. I'm gonna have, let's say, a half of a cup, okay, which is one serving, one of those 8 servings that I need in the grain family. And I'm also going to have 2 eggs, okay, and if you remember, the eggs were part of the meat and alternatives, and I needed 2 of those servings, and 2 eggs is one serving. And I'm also gonna have, let's say, an orange. You know that I need a whopping 8 to 10 servings of vegetables and fruit, and I'm going for it. So hey, I got my first fruit in my first serving out of 10 right away, first thing in the morning. Moving on to, let's say, meal 2 over here. Now, meal 2 for me would be a snack. It would be a mid-morning snack. You don't have to include a snack, but what I find is for steady blood sugar, for steady energy, both physical and mental, I like to eat every 3 to 4 hours. That's just what works for me. It may or may not work for you. But more importantly, we're working the formula here. So at the end, I'm gonna put some totals and look at, am I meeting those formula requirements or serving sizes? So it might be a little bit easier to break it up throughout the day versus trying to get it all into 2 meals or even 3 square meals a day. That would be my advice for you, but something you can work on. Meal number 2 for me is gonna be this snack. And let's say, well, I've already put a plan together here. So I'm gonna work it. For this particular day, I'm going to have yogurt. I'm gonna have that Greek yogurt that I pulled out. This is gonna be my tomorrow. This is gonna be my first day with this meal plan. So feel free to use some of the ideas and modify them, obviously based on your personal formula, based on your age and your gender. I'm also gonna have, what I like to do is a fruit and a veg tray. I make one of these every day. And it's something that you would see in a supermarket, but I just prepare it myself. And I try to get, at least maybe 6 or 8 servings in that tray. I just spend about maybe 5 or 10 minutes and cut up all the vegetables, cut up all the fruit and say, hey, it's there, it's in sight, I can see it, I can eat it. It's dummy proof, because at the end of the day, I need to have that tray emptied in order to meet my quota or my target for this fruit and vegetable food category. So that would be my meal 2, that would be my snack. Meal number 3, we're on to lunch, it's midday. I'm gonna have chicken, and I'm going to have, what should I have my chicken? Maybe some rice, because it's part of the grain food group. Okay, I'm gonna have, let's just say, some wild rice. I'll spend a little bit more time cooking it than I would have to with basmati rice. But yeah, it's gonna be a lot more healthier as well. So chicken and rice, and I am also going to put some cooked vegetables with that. I like frozen vegetables. They're picked when they're ripe versus, a lot of the stuff that's in the supermarket is coming from, let's say, the West Coast and was picked when it wasn't ripe. So it just doesn't have the nutritional value that it would have if it was picked when it was ripe and flash frozen and then put into a bag and, into my chicken and rice melody over here. So I would suggest that. That's another great way for me to get, well, I've got vegetables. If I have, let's say, 1 cup of vegetables, that's 2 servings, if you recall, right? So 1 fist, I'm gonna get 2 servings of vegetables. It's starting to add up now, as you can see. My rice, I'm gonna have half of a cup, okay? Actually, I'm gonna boost it to 1 cup, because I need 8 grains by the end of the day, or I'm just gonna be hungry at the end of the day. And you don't want to see me hungry. That's a real bad thing. Chicken, I'm gonna have 2.5 ounces, okay? I'm gonna go moderate with that. So we're at midday now. Let's move on. We're gonna get into an afternoon snack, something that I really enjoy because, like a lot of people, that's when the energy starts to dip down. So I like to get into an afternoon snack. That's my pick-me-up. And for an afternoon snack, I'm gonna go for my fruit and my vegetable tray again, okay? Maybe by that point in time, I will have devoured it. I will have come very close or maybe even met my target for 8 to 10 servings of fruit and vegetables. So that's typically what I start munching on in the afternoon. It's a grazing kind of affair. If I'm at my desk or if I'm working from home, it's always there. And I suggest that you start preparing that and keeping it in sight, because if it's in sight, then it's not going to be out of sight. It's not going to be out of mind. It's going to get done by the end of the day. So that would be an afternoon snack. Let's move on to my dinner. Okay, we're already at meal 5 here. Okay, dinner, and I'm gonna have fish, and I'm gonna have quinoa. With that, I'm gonna have 1 cup of quinoa. I'm going to have, let's say, 4 ounces of fish, 4 to 6 ounces probably. All right. And I'm also going to have veg again with that, and I'm also going to put a drizzle of olive oil on that, or maybe a tablespoon of butter, for example. So I am going to put a little bit more taste to it, and I'm going to do that with our fats and our oils, and there's an allowance for that within this formula. And if you recall, it's anywhere from 2 to 3 tablespoons. Now, if you want to decrease the fat, I've done that several times with, different types of meal plans that I built for myself. That's fine, and that just means eliminating a lot of the salad dressings or the butters or the olive or the canola oils. All of those kinds of things, it's only a small allowance for it anyways. Now, meal 6, this is where things get interesting for me. And you know me, I'm all about straight up honesty, transparency, and the all-inclusive life, which means that I am including some questionable foods. What am I talking about? Well, cereal, for example, there's added organic sugar to this. It's not sugar-free, it was bought in the organic aisles, but it certainly has some questionable ingredients in it in regards to, a lot of these are sweetened with cane sugar, for example. May it be organic cane sugar, it is still a high sugar type product, but it's what I need after a long day. It does soothe me, and I'm just like everybody else, and I need some soothing. I need some pleasure foods, and this is a pleasure food that I can put down, so it works with me. And I might have a cup, okay, which basically equates to 1 serving of, or 3/4 cups, my apologies, which equates to 1 serving in the grain food group, okay? I'm also a big popcorn guy, natural popcorn. I'm also a big Mary's or any other type of crunchy organic cracker. These are the things that I like to graze on in the evening that do have a little bit more taste, do have a little bit more texture to them, and it makes me feel great at the end of the day, as long as I don't overdo it, because you know what happens, you wake up with a food hangover, and that's just like any other hangover that you might have. It's nasty, you don't want to go there. So this is the framework. This is the framework for me. If you get your free download here, the resources, you'll get your own framework, hopefully started right away, because it's going to give you all the information that you need to get started with the formula, and also lots of options with your food, so you can start speccing things out, and you know what you like, you know what you don't like, and maybe some things that you're not sure about, so you can bring those things into your diet going forward, and keep remodeling and keep building this meal plan. That's what I want you to do, my friend. That is a wrap for tonight. Thanks so much for being here. Again, get your free download. It'll be up for a little while, and start next week. Monday is a new day. I'd love to see a new plan. And eventually, if this is what you want to do, I want you to see a new and improved you. And hey, we are what we eat. It is vital. It is our vitality. So we need to focus on it, and we need to start building within it. And that's what today's lesson was all about. Until the next time, my friend, inspire to aspire.